What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the More Than Love podcast, brought to you by Terry Duran Books. I got my co-host Jay on the line. What's going on, Jay?
Hey, what's going on, Terry? Ready to another great topic for the night here.
Yeah, man, we should have a pretty interesting conversation, man. We got a pretty live guest for tonight. My boy Blanchard, he is Blanchard from Instagram, is going to be chopping up with me on tonight's topic. Tonight we're going to be talking about the obstacles that women have to overcome in order to have dating success. So I wanted to put together a show where we could actually help women benefit and steer them on the right course. But before we get into that, we're going to get into a segment that I like to call Terry's Top 3. This week's segment of Top 3 is brought to you by Publishing Shack. That's your go-to company for all of your publishing needs. So go check them out, publishingshack.com. So I got a couple of interesting posts this week that I wanted to go over, Jay. The first one is a video that was sent to me. Now, it was pretty long. It was like 4 or 5 segments. But basically, it was a man and a woman. He was going on giving her a real brutally honest perspective on what men think and feel about the way a lot of women behave. And so he was talking to him about them making emotional decisions. For example, one of the things he pointed out is a woman will be in a relationship with somebody she loves and be living under the same roof with them, but will still call the police on them and get them arrested over something dumb, which ultimately ends up hurting both of them. You know what I mean? So he was pointing out the differences in how men and women operate. Now, he did it in a real ghetto way or whatnot, but what he said had a whole lot of substance to it. Now, his general message to her was, you basically attract the type of energy that you put out. And the example that he kind of gave was, he's like, you watch all them reality shows, you watch all that arguing and fighting and drama and etc. And that's the kind of energy that you invite into your life. Those are the type of men you end up dating. So for a lot of women, that is true. You know what I mean? Like women that love to deal with drama and a whole lot of mess. A lot of the mess that's in their life is a result of their own behavior or the situations that they put themselves in.
Right. I definitely agree with that one. I'm gonna agree with that. You kind of like, whatever energy you're coming around you, what type of dudes you keep attracting, you're doing something to attract that. If you just date a whole bunch of dusty dudes, then obviously you're doing something to date these dusty dudes. Maybe you're going to, settings they ain't got nothing but dusty dudes in there, something like of that sort.
Yeah, or it could just be the type of men you choose. A lot of women friend zone the men that are too good or live the type of lifestyles that is too boring, etc. So a lot of women choose guys that bring negative energy and negative circumstances into their personal lives, as opposed to guys that won't be bringing drama and baby mamas and all this type of extra stuff.
Because if you're dating a whole bunch of every dude, the past 5 dudes you're dating, it's been fuckboys, then you gotta ask yourself, what are you doing to attract those fuckboys? What energy are you bringing?
Absolutely.
Where are you hanging out at? Things of that sort.
Right. Now, this next post, this is a post that got a lot of people upset. It showed a woman cutting her man's dreads off while he was asleep. And so the caption says she cut his hair while he was asleep. And it showed a guy with some real long locks, like 10, 12-inch locks. That obviously takes a very long time to grow to get that long. But it shows her, the end of the video, it just shows her with a handful of locks. You know what I mean? And the caption that I wrote was, this is the type of stuff that women do because they know the laws on domestic violence and all that is in their favor. Because any just rational person, like if a woman woke up and one of her or another woman cut all her hair off, she's about to immediately beat her ass. No discussion, no questions about it, etc. And so the expected reaction from doing something like that is rage and violence. And almost every scenario that you think of, that's going to be the case. And so for a woman to do this to a man and have the audacity to record it, you know what I mean? That's such a blatant level of disrespect that it makes you think that she either, one, wanted him to react with violence and go to jail so she can call the police and whatnot. Or she knew that he was the type of dude that would not resort to violence and wanted to be like, you know what I'm saying, like have the law on her side and have him restrain himself for that reason alone. And so...
Yeah. That's just crazy. Yeah, but I know this is a little bit sensitive, but how many times do we see women, provoke a guy, do things like that to provoke a guy that when he does hit her, she plays the victim. Now I know, we spoke about domestic violence cases, a couple of weeks back on another show, but I mean, first of all,
very real
that she did that. What was like? My question is, what's the situation? Why she did that? I mean, there's not too many reasons why that would justify her doing that, but
true, very true. I mean, you never have the complete story or the whole situation, but it's just like, man, if okay, what's the worst thing? He cheated.
Right.
If you cheated and you got him acting as if everything is all good or whatnot, just leave. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do something that's going to have a permanent impact. You know what I mean? So, well, not necessarily permanent, but have a significant impact that's going to take years to recover from or rebuild. And so, a lot of women were in the comments stating that they would beat her ass if that was their brother, etc. You know what I'm saying? Like, etc., etc. And that makes sense.
Wait, but matter of fact, I think I've seen a story like this on a court TV show a while back where the woman cut her manager because she thought he was cheating, and come to find out it was one of his relatives that a friend told her she seen the person with was one of his relatives, like his cousin or sister or something like that.
So it wasn't even that's where you got.
But she went off, but she did it off of some stuff that her friend told her.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, situations like this, a lot of times they're based off misunderstandings, rumors, things of that nature, and to make a decision like that out of your anger or having your feelings hurt is usually going to create more chaos and more drama. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now this next post, this was a post that was sent to me where it was saying, if you are working 50 hours a week, waking up 2 hours earlier than him to cook breakfast and get the kids ready for school so you can drop them off before you go to work, making the doctor's appointments on your lunch break, rushing through traffic to pick the kids up from aftercare so you won't get charged a $1 a minute late fee, cooking dinner while helping the kids with their homework, serving the king his dinner first on a real plate because plastic is disrespectful, washing the dishes after he and the kids finish and leave everything where it is, making sure the kids get their baths and put on lotion afterward, laying out their clothes and making sure they iron, picking up a few toys in their room while you get them to bed, folding a load of clothes after you started a new one, finally getting in bed exhausted after 11 p.m. so your man can wake you up at 2 a.m. for some sloppy toppy before giving him some with you on top again. And you pay 50-50. You're not married, you're trapped. Fight me. Now, thankfully, this is a hypothetical situation, right? And so when it was sent to me, I'm just like, a woman that would end up in this type of predicament did not just figure out that this man was lazy as hell and didn't have any ambition and was not a help in the household. Like, you can figure that very early on in the dating phase with somebody.
Now, wait a second, Terry. Now, is this his kids too, or is this just something?
I don't know, man. It was a hypothetical situation. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But it just said the kids. But it don't matter. If you were in a relationship with a woman and y'all living together and y'all have kids in the household, you're at least at the very minimum the stepdad role.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so if you're not doing absolutely nothing, except paying half of the bills, you're not helping clean nothing, you just eat and leave your shit there, like you're not being any assistance whatsoever, that's the same thing as being a deadbeat to me. Like, life is not about just, as long as I can pay half the bills, I don't have to do shit else. Because a man, if a man lives by himself and he has that type of attitude, his house is going to be a fucking mess.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so, no man that wants a clean, tidy house, that can cook and take care of himself, is going to live that way. Like, men expect to do chores. Or if you don't want to do chores, you should be doing other things to help out in the household. Like taking the kids to school, like helping getting them clothes, like doing laundry. And so if you have a man that does not help you in any aspect whatsoever, you did a horrible choice of choosing who to get in a relationship with and who to have your kids by. So it's very, very difficult to have sympathy for you because these are all choices. They're all bad choices. They're all emotional or good dick-based choices, but they're choices nonetheless. And we all have to live with the choices we make.
Right.
So,
yeah, absolutely. Like you said, she didn't just wake up one morning and find out, this dude is just, lazy, he just wants to lay around and not do anything. He's obviously, I'm guessing he's lived there for a while. Or, I mean, I don't know the situation if this is his kids or not, but like you said, even if it isn't, he's got to play some kind of, stepfather role or something of that sort,
Right, man. At least,
or like, a surrogate dad.
You would think, man, that would be the expectation. But for a lot of women, like I always say, they fail the dating phase and get in a committed relationship with somebody that they're not compatible with at all.
Right.
Which is why I always suggest that women download my dating guide from my website, Terry Duran Books. My dating compatibility guide is to help walk them through the dating process and help them figure out if they're really compatible with the man before you commit to him, before you get pregnant by him. And the best part about it is only $1.50. So they have a tool that can help them prevent this type of situation if they take the steps necessary to get it on their phone and get it in their brain.
Well, I mean, hey, you heard it here. Like I said, for only $1.50, go buy it. Listen, you spend more at McDonald's, Starbucks, so you can buy this to, help your dating game and, help you step your game up here.
Right. So, we're about to take a quick break. When I come back, I'll chop it up with my boy Blanchard. We're going to be talking about some of the obstacles that women have to overcome with dating. When we come back from that, me and Jay will do some follow-up, and we'll keep the party going. So you're listening to the More Than Love podcast. Thanks for tuning in. All right, everybody, welcome back. You're listening to another episode of More Than Love podcast. I got my guest on for tonight, Blanchard. What's going on, man?
How you doing, man? Everything's pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'll be seeing you on the gram doing your thing, giving you perspective on relationships and whatnot. So I wanted to get you on my podcast and so you can share some of your insight with my audience. So I appreciate you taking the time to holler at your boy, man.
And thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's all good, man. I like to speak with other men that actually know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? So I'll watch your videos. I see some of the stuff that you post. So I figured it'd be interesting to actually have a conversation with you. Tonight on my podcast, we're talking about dating obstacles that women have to overcome. So I figured it's an interesting conversation. And with you giving advice to women on the gram, I'm pretty sure you got your own perspective or observations about things that you see that women are either believing that are causing them to have dating problems or particular behaviors that they're exhibiting. But before we get into that, man, let them know a little bit about you and how they can get your content, and then we can get into the conversation.
Yeah, well, basically my Instagram is he is Blanchard, HEISBLANCHARD. And basically I just go on Instagram and just talk about current topics, issues, comedy, everything. So it's like a page filled with everything. I think a lot of people enjoy my page because I talk about stuff that you don't really get to talk about from a truthful aspect, like a practical aspect, and it's not really anything that's commercial or watered down. I'm kind of getting straight to the point.
Exactly.
And it's uncomfortable sometimes. I get a lot of DMs with people mad and people, saying I bash women and that I hate women.
Yeah, well, if anybody can relate to that, would be me. I mean, obviously when you're not pandering to women, when you're not just saying what they want to hear, a lot of women are going to take it the wrong way and search for the negative in the message. So I deal with that on a day-to-day basis, but it just comes with the territory. You know, a lot of women, that's part of those type of women are their own obstacles to overcome. Like their mentality on engaging honest, transparent men is so hostile that it prevents them from ever getting with the real man. You know what I mean? So based off what you observe and what you deal with these different type of women, what would you say are some of the main things that women have to overcome or obstacles that they have to deal with in order to have a healthy, productive relationship?
Well, I think that it starts initially when they meet the man, and I think a lot of women get caught up with the characteristics over the man's character. So
it's a good way to put it.
So
that's a good way to put it.
So what happens is the guy is successful, looks good, you know, has a car, nice car, all these things. He's automatically put in the great candidate box. You know, they don't really factor in how this guy's going to be as a person. So once they get involved with this guy, they pretty much have their guard down because they're thinking that this is a good guy because he's accomplished in life. And that's not the case. You know, and I tell women all the time, you got to ask these men questions that challenge their character. Like, find out how he feels about family. Find out how he feels about relationships. Find out how he feels about women in general. Like, you got to ask these questions. You know, not just assume that this guy's a good catch because you think he may be financially stable.
Well, a lot of times, women do go to this, I'm going to ask a set series of questions or I'm going to ask them specific questions. But you also have to take into account, it's easy to lie to women. You know what I mean? Like any dude that's successful with dating know how the conversation's going to go. So oftentimes they do think that they're doing the right thing by asking these type of questions. But if I'm a dude and I'm lying to you about who I am as a man and what I really want, well, I'm going to tell you what you want to hear. And I think a lot of them don't really have the skills to be able to assess and determine when a dude's blowing smoke up their ass or when a dude's being really authentic with them. You know what I mean?
And see, so that's what I'm saying. I'm like, if a guy is answering all your questions right, I mean, and I'm like, you think about that. You meet somebody, and this guy's answering all your questions right. Most women gonna say, "Oh, he's the one." Not even specific. That just like with us, just like with men. And we ask the girl a whole bunch of questions. If she answers 10 questions right, we gonna start scratching our head like something ain't right. Because you know you'd have been snatched up already.
Well, that's true to a degree, but they can't really apply that logic to men because a man can really be a great candidate and really be telling you what he really do for a living, how he make his money, how he went to college or whatnot, and be giving her all the right answers. But that won't mean that he would have been snatched up already. He probably wants to be single. Like that's the difference between being single by choice and being single by circumstance that I often talk about on my page. You know, a lot of women, if they met the perfect dude that had met all their credentials and wanted to be with them, most women would definitely take that committed relationship. Where a lot of dudes can be with the woman that meets all that he views his wife material, that he like fucking her, everything is cool about her. He just would rather be single. You know what I mean? So
yeah, because he got options. So that successful man that you talking about, he has options, and guess what? She know he has options. So she has to ask herself, is she even willing to even put up with it? Because you got to ask.
It's a rough road, man.
It's rough. When a guy is successful and he got everything going for him, and he really don't need you, how you gonna feel? How you gonna fill that void? How you gonna get in that ditch? Because it's tough.
Yeah.
I was talking to a girl the other day at the little health food store, and she said, you know, I was just chatting with her, and she was like, you know, where are the good guys at? Because me and my girlfriend, we got our own businesses, we got our house, we got our car, and we can't find any good men. And I said, you can't find any good men. She's like, nah. I said, well, my question is, are y'all good women? Now she gets upset. Like, but that's a valid question though.
Well, all women think they good women if you ask them, you know what I mean? Like, it's very rare that you gonna meet a woman with enough self-awareness to be like, I'm the problem, I'm the reason that all my relationships or didn't fail. But it's usually not one of those extremes. It's not always your fault. But women that have poor evaluation methods of men, women that use insignificant things to determine if a man's a quality man or not, like, these women typically have a bunch of flawed things that they use as their dating strategy or their dating system. And so a lot of women use systems that are pretty much designed to make it more difficult for them to end up with who they want to end up with, or impossible to do so. And so that's what I find myself trying to dispel. A lot of the myths that they believe in, a lot of the fairy tale beliefs that they have, where it's like, man, the men that y'all want to be with don't think about that, or that don't make no sense to us. So that makes it less likely for us to choose you if I got 4 or 5 quality women that I'm dating. But
and so, and I'm telling her, I'm like, I asked her, what kind of guy do you want? And she says, I want a guy that's 6'2" enough, guy that got his own business, he got to be ambitious, he got to be in shape. I mean, I'm like, that's Superman, though. Like, he's driving a superhero.
But see, a lot of women don't have the self-awareness to realize that they're asking for things that really don't matter. Like, is there really a difference between a dude that's 5'11" and 6'2"? If the 5'11" dude treats you better, if he's more compatible with you and your lifestyle and your values. But a lot of women wouldn't even consider him for not meeting her height requirement. Something that he ain't got no control over.
Just height. Like, and I'm like, y'all are passing up these men saying they too short. But I'm like, but the tall guys running through y'all. all the in-shape, good-looking guys are running through y'all like a tractor. We gotta make a decision.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty sure you being that blunt is gonna hurt some feelings, man. I like I said, it's a touchy thing when you talking to women about relationship and dating and pointing the finger at them on things that they may or may not be doing wrong, or things that contribute to their heartbreak, you know what I'm saying, or their disappointment. Because when you take a look back and just observe how women think and behave, it becomes very apparent how a lot of the pain they experience or a lot of their dating failure is self-inflicted. You know what I mean? So it's good for women to be able to hear the perspective from guys like us that ain't really interested in telling you the feel-good story. Ain't really trying to give you the motivational cliche. You know your worth. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't value you. Like, all that.
Who's that guy on Instagram? And he's always in his car, and he always, telling women how bad men are, how good women are. It's like, dude, I can't stand that dude, man. I really can't stand that dude.
Well, see, that his name is Derek Jackson. I've done some discussions with him before. And we've had some. The ironic thing is, me and him have like drastically different perspectives on our Instagram pages. But when we talk, like me and you talking, we agreed on a lot of almost everything. You know what I mean? His approach though, where he speaks about the negative men, from the female perspective, that's what's popping on the gram. You know what I mean? Like. And the way that I view it is, he's being authentic. He's really talking about fuckboys and deadbeats and giving a real perspective on those type of men. But I don't really care because I'm not that type of dude. So I'm not hurt or bothered by it. But I do see why a lot of other people object to it or whatnot. But like I said, he agrees with a lot of the things that we talk about when I have conversations with him. So it's
I will say, the stuff he's telling women, it's not wrong. I'm just saying, like, to me, I think now at this stage in the game, we gotta, if we are men want to really help women, we gotta kind of get us some tools too. And so I tell women, listen, when you picking a guy, you gotta be selective. I mean, he can't. I said what he has can't wow you. He just can't. Like you gotta look at that man for who he is. I said so. Yeah, you want him tall. Yeah, you want all this stuff, a nice smile, but that can't be it. Like it has to be more than that.
Yeah, you're right, man. They gotta learn to focus on what really matters. So hopefully, with guys like me giving them a real perspective every day, man. Some of them are getting it. You know, some women are becoming enlightened and waking up to realize that what they were taught growing up or whatnot is a big part of the problem. And hopefully, a lot of women that watch or listen to the podcast, this episode will be able to come away with a much clearer perspective on how to end up with a quality man that meets their needs, has the credentials that they're looking for, and is generally seen as husband and father material by the people that actually know him.
Yes.
So, man, look like we're up against the clock, man. I appreciate you taking the time out to chop it up with me, man. I definitely have to bring you on again in the future, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, everybody. We're about to take a quick break. When we get back, I'll break down my thoughts on tonight's topic. You're listening to More Than Love Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it.
All right, everybody, welcome back. You're listening to More Than Love Podcast. Just finished wrapping up with my boy Blanchard, so I wanted to just discuss the topic of the night and get some feedback on our conversation with Blanchard, man. What'd you think about him saying about the women that with their strict standards on having to have a dude that this height, got to make this much money, drive this type of car, like women that are that strict about the
I think that's rather shallow and vain for them to have those kind of standards. I mean, my question is, what are they bringing to the table here for them to have all these standards here? So be so shallow and vain in that way.
Well, I mean, even if you got yourself together, like when you have very strict standards like that, you really limit your dating pool.
Exactly, that's what I was getting to. You're really limiting your dating pool.
And, I mean, especially
there's only but so many of those out there.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're naming the things that are the most desired characteristics in a man. A tall dude, 6'2", with a physique that make money.
But another thing, I think that, like I said, it's very shallow because think of it, you're going off a bunch of exterior features here. You're not seeing what kind he can have all that and still be like we said in another show. He can still be a fuckboy here.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of lames with money. It's a lot of dudes that are not good men that just happen to have good jobs or happen to be professional athletes or whatnot. So a lot of women, and that's one of the things that I'm about to get into with this list that I created. It's one of the reasons that women are, in a lot of ways, their own worst enemy when it comes to achieving their relationship goals or having dating success. So tonight, we're talking about the obstacles women have to overcome in order to have dating success. And so I basically went through and I just came up with a list of things that I've observed, right? That I know make quality men view particular women as unwifeable or have a less desire to actually date them. They still interested in hanging out and having casual dating or situations or casual sex with them, but they don't view them as women that they would want to get in serious relationships with. And so ultimately that hurts the woman because most women have goals of being in a committed relationship or marriage with a quality man. And so when women are operating in ways that make that more difficult or prevent those things from happening, it becomes very problematic on their end. You know what I mean? And so it's something that a lot of women don't seem to get the real perspective on because a lot of people are always pandering to them and telling them what they want to hear, etc. So one of the first things that I had on the list, it said that one of the main obstacles that women have to deal with is the fact that there are a lack of men that meet their credentials. A lot of women have expectations of men and standards for men that only fit a very small percentage of men. So if you just had a filter on the general population of men and you started putting the filters that most women look for, he got to be tall, he got to look cute, he got to have a big dick, he got to make a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can't have kids, like all these type of things women place on their expectation of a man. Just eliminate more men. All those are ways to filter through men and eliminate other guys, which could possibly men that are more compatible with them, or possibly men that would treat them better, or share their same values on lifestyle, on ambition, on education, things of that nature, things that really matter. You know what I mean? So a lot of women, they chase the dream. They chase Mr. Perfect, Prince Charming, and in a lot of cases, Prince Charming prefers to be single, because his single life is much better than being in a committed relationship for a lot of those men. The second thing, they have a lot of unrealistic perspectives on sex, men in relationships. When you sit back and you take a step back and observe how women make their dating decisions, how they evaluate men, you know, how they treat sex and feel about sex, and actually manage a man giving them the keys to his sex life. A lot of women abuse it. A lot of women use it to punish him or try to get their way or try to manipulate him. So a lot of women abuse the trust that men give to them. And that contributes to the attitude that a lot of men would rather stay single than give their sex life, put it in the hands of a woman that is likely to mismanage it or abuse that power. Let's see. The third thing that I had on my list was a lot of women have a very romanticized view on dating and relationships. That's the fairy tale stuff we're talking about all the time. With love at first sight, unconditional love. Like, they believe in all this mythology that comes about relationships based off Disney movies and romantic comedies and all these media influences. People telling them that they're queens and princesses and they deserve everything. Like, a lot of women really internalize this stuff and try to hold other men that are strangers to those standards. And that's a very, very bad dating strategy.
It's very, very flawed. I mean, even by deserve that doesn't always mean you're gonna get it because you deserve it.
Right. I mean, to be honest, you really just deserve somebody that's gonna treat you with respect, somebody that's gonna put forth the same effort that you put into the relationship. Like, that's really all the expectations you can have when you're going out on the dating market. You know what I mean? And you're meeting a stranger and trying to go from being strangers to building a committed, healthy relationship. Like, you can't go into it with the unrealistic expectations, because that just makes it more likely that your expectations will not be met. Or a person will it won't even attempt to meet them. You know what I mean?
They're setting themselves up to be disappointed here, basically.
Yeah, the next thing that I had on the list is a lot of women think and act, they think and behave in ways that create conflict with men. You know, they have passive aggressive behavior. They judge men for thinking and acting like men. They compare the things that men do based off of a female value system and compare it to what they would have done if they were in that particular situation. And all these type of things create conflict with men, because it's ultimately you're mad at a man for being a man or not thinking and acting like a woman, which is always going to be an unfair standard to hold a man to. Because if you just reverse that and men start penalizing women for not thinking and acting like men, women would have a serious problem with that. So it's one of these things that women that feel that way or behave in ways that create drama or create conflict with men, they make it a lot harder for those men to decide to stay with them. They increase the desire that the man cheats or ends up leaving them for another woman. They decrease the communication. They decrease the affection. and all the things that they want to get out of the interaction in the relationship. And the last thing that I had on my list was a lot of them think and behave in way. No, that was number 4. Number 5 is they struggle to effectively evaluate men. And that kind of piggybacks back to what we were talking about earlier. They judge men on these superficial, flawed things that any fuckboy can do or portray. And they treat it as if it's gospel or if it's some type of indication that he's the one, we're supposed to be together forever, and go all in on a facade.
Well, once again, just like we were speaking earlier, think what like these women's views and what creates, I guess, you can say lousy decision, poor judgment of men, because they're viewing, the way they're evaluating the men are from, the neck down rather from the neck up.
Right.
Because they're looking at all the exterior features, like you said. Does he have a nice physique? Does he have a big dick? Is he 6'2" or bigger or taller? Does he drive a nice car? Does he have a BMW Benz?
Yeah,
does
stuff
he have
that
a nice apartment?
Those things matter. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of women place a disproportionate amount of weight on it. Just like a lot of women place a disproportionate amount of weight on their own credentials. I got my own house. I got my own car. Just like Blanchard was saying, a lot of the women he talked about that I own my own business. I do this. Like, that don't make you a good woman. That don't mean that that the way you think and behave is conducive with a quality man. That don't mean that you can handle criticism or you hold yourself accountable for behavior or problems that you create. That just means that you got a business and you got a degree. Round of applause, whoop-de-doo. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what? We got degrees and we got businesses too. Like, so that's not really impressive, and that's not a sign that a person is going to be a quality mate.
Exactly. Like you said, you got a little deep into, like you always say, is she a good problem solver? Can she be a good mother to your kids?
Can she handle a crisis situation? Can she deal with disappointment? You know what I'm saying? Like, can she deal with some unexpected happens and ruins her birthday party? Like, how does she handle real life situations where you got to make a choice or put somebody else's needs before your own? Like, things like that a quality man is going to be willing to do for his family without hesitation, without resentment, without, you know what I'm saying? Like, a man making a sacrifice for his family is not a big deal. He don't need a pat on the back. He's not asking for some recognition. It's part of what comes with building a family and a healthy relationship. So hopefully people can download the podcast, listen to it on their own time, and come away from it with some real insight on how quality men think.
Definitely. You got some good care here, dropping jewels as always here.
So I want to appreciate everybody for tuning in. This has been episode 4 of the More Than Love podcast. Make sure you go download it, subscribe. It's available at Google Play, iTunes, Podbean.com. And you can also watch past episodes on my YouTube channel at Terry Duran. So, Jay, man, I appreciate you tuning in, joining me for another episode. This has been the More Than Love podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.
Count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it. Count it up.